My name is Emilio. Before the Lord, I was living in a life of darkness. But now with the Lord, I'm living in the light. I'd like to tell you my story.
Where would I be without your love? Where would I be without your grace? Father in heaven above, all of my sins you erased. You saved me from a life of misery and rewrote my history. This is my story, and to you be the honor and glory, y'all. Resurrected, born again, no longer a slave of this world I'm living in. Broke the chains that held me down, I've been set free, so let me testify.
Welcome to This Is Your Story. I believe the most important statement Jesus ever made was this: you must be born again. That means you and I need to make a spiritual decision. Either choose the light of life or remain in darkness. Because Jesus said, I have come as a light into the world that whoever believes in me shall not abide in darkness. My guest today has made that choice. For the next few moments, you will hear his story, a transformation from darkness to light, the moment he became born again. Let's meet Emilio. Emilio, before we talk about the dangers and the darkness that fills the pages of your story, I'd love to address the tattoos for a moment, if I could. Now, tattoos may be frowned upon by some, but for you, not so. Why?
This is a question I've never heard before. Well, for me, personally, I look at it through the Bible, and I believe in Jesus, right? So if you believe in Jesus, we believe in the New Testament, the New Covenant, the new way to live. So we're looking at laws that were in the Leviticus, right? And we don't live under Levitical law anymore. There's a moral law, civil law, and ritual law. We live under the moral laws, right? So the commandments. And in the New Testament, that's not mentioned again. And even when they mention tattoos in the Old Testament, they're not talking about tattoos. It was more about scarification for blood to call out to Baal, right? So I look at what the New Testament says. If you're using your gifts to bring people to the Lord, use the gifts I give you to reach others. And that's what I'm doing. I'm using my platform to promote Jesus. And if it doesn't align with our values, we say no. But we're using it to bring people to Christ. Whenever someone comes in, I'm a bully for God. I preach the good word. They're in my home, so they have to hear about it. And that's what I do.
Your family was very religious, but religion turned you away from God. And so what was it about religion that bothered you personally?
I would say they portrayed to be very religious, but there was a lot of hypocritical things going on, right? They say they would believe in God, but then they were criminals or not living a godly life, right? And I didn't see how we could act so heinously, but then justify it one day a week on Sunday. I know guys who, for a living, they were bookies and collectors, and they would, beat people up, murder, do whatever it took to get the money back. And they were some of the biggest Jesus preachers sometimes, would miss, Sundays would shut down for them because they had to be in church and then family dinner. But all week long, they're robbing people, hurting people. Seeing all this hypocrisy by people saying that, they believe in God, but if God says do not murder, do not steal, this is their everyday life. And they think they're going to go to heaven. I mean, it just felt like just a fairy tale and stupidity to me.
People can become a product of their environment, and your upbringing would no doubt support that statement. And I'm wondering, can you describe for me what it was like for you growing up as a young teenager?
I grew up in an abusive household. My dad drank and he liked to gamble a lot, and he got himself in a little bit of trouble in Montreal when I was 13. He uprooted us from Montreal down to Florida, moved halfway across North America. I didn't know anybody in Florida. It was a difficult time. I skipped a grade on top of that, so I went from 7th grade to 9th grade, and I was in a high school I was 13 years old and everybody was 15 and older. So I got bullied and jumped and beat all the time. So yeah, it was pretty rough. And it was pretty easy for me to turn into a life of darkness going through what I was going through.
Now, during those early teenage years, drugs became a big part of your life, even at that young age.
Yeah, so what happened was, since I kept getting in fights all the time and getting beat up, I was, one day I met this guy and he was a drug dealer, and he basically said, hey, I can help you out. And we hung out, we got high, and then I started selling weed for him. And turned into smoking weed, turned into selling coke, and eventually led to pills. I was doing lots of Xanax, and eventually, by the end of it, I was smoking a half ounce of crack a day.
So you were addicted.
I was addicted since the age of 13 till about 45.
The world of crime is not as people think. For some, death lurks around every corner, and there is a price to pay, even if it's not your debt.
When I was 17, my best friend and I and a bunch of our friends, we moved from Naples, Florida up to Orlando to go away to school. And we were just really falling into more of the drug scene and just thinking we were gangsters, and we started robbing people. We targeted other drug dealers. We were always thought that was the perfect crime. They can't report it. And one day we robbed the wrong person. I was home one night and I was up for 4 days on crack and coke, and I was supposed to go for a drug deal with a friend of mine, and I just didn't feel like going. I was so tired, so I gave my best friend the keys to my truck, and he went with my other buddy. And when they left, the person that we robbed was waiting for them. They chased them through the streets of Orlando, shooting into my truck multiple times. My friend who was driving got hit one time right in the head, and he got hit 4 times, but the lethal shot was the one that hit him in the head, and he slumped over the wheel, and his life was ended right there. As I look back at that story and many other stories, I realized that I should have been in that driver's seat that day, but for some reason, God spared me, just as he has many times in my life. And that's why I'm using every day I have now to just push forward for God and really not take another day in vain, and just to show how merciful he's been in my life when I was so undeserving, and probably still am undeserving.
You escaped death not just once, but many times, and things got really dangerous for you. So can I ask, how much more dangerous did it get?
I OD'd once. I was saved by in the hospital. I woke up out of a coma with the St. Albert police saved me. Another time I tried to commit suicide. I ate a handful of pills and the Edmonton police found me just outside my storage unit. Another time I got stabbed in the face 5 times. I've been in gunfights, robbing people, trying to get away, been shot at multiple times and luckily not hit, but I've had friends beside me get shot. I've had friends overdose beside me and die. Other ways, I'm just lucky to get away, being chased by people that we robbed, getting shot at in Toronto, in Florida. Everywhere I went, it was the same pattern.
Now, you mentioned your dad earlier, and your dad got you actually involved with some really scary people. In fact, you almost lost your life by paying a debt that wasn't yours to pay. Explain.
After my friend was murdered, I moved back home, and my father was a real estate agent, but involved with some crooked people. And they approached me and wanted us to get them kilos of cocaine to send over to Ireland. They were part of the Irish Republican Army, the IRA. I hooked them up with some people, and I wasn't even involved. I was supposed to get paid. I never got a penny, but they ended up robbing the Irish guys. My friends robbed the Irish guys and my dad, and they thought I had something to do with it. So my father led them to me, thinking I had something to do with it as well, which I didn't. And I ended up having to pay back this debt, but I also got tortured along the way. They smashed my head in with a baseball bat. I needed stitches. I've had a screwdriver put through my head, tied up, burnt with metal hangers, punched, beaten severely, just till bleeding everywhere. Yeah, it was pretty difficult especially when you look to your father for protection and, just for money, Instead of helping a son grieve, he, used that to his advantage to try and make money.
Picture this scene. A husband, a father of 5 children sitting in his living room with a bulletproof vest holding an AR-15 machine gun, ready to unleash a flurry of bullets into an enemy gang member who would dare invade his home. It was also at this time that you met your wife of 30 years with whom you've had 5 children. And although you tried to escape the drug and the gangster lifestyle, you were addicted and you were trapped. And I want to make sure I get this right. But at the age of 30, you were incarcerated for 5 years in a U.S. federal prison for conspiracy and trafficking 2 tons of MDMA and 1 ton of marijuana. But while in prison, you had said to me that you found God like you did many times before. What do you mean by that statement?
I'm grateful that my grandparents were devout Catholics. They were great people. They had nothing to do with any of this lifestyle, and they installed Jesus into me at a young age. And every time I went to prison, I would find the people who were preaching God, right? And I guess that's the beauty of the Christian faith, is the hope. And when you're in prison, there's not much hope, right? And so I just found a way to God each time, and it helped me get through those periods. But my wife she knew who I was at that point, and she could see past it. And she would always say, hey, you know what, in 2 weeks, you'll be done with this. Oh, in a month, he'll be done with this, just whatever. And she was right. I constantly, would fall into the trap. But when you have 5 children, young children at that age, and you just get out of prison, especially in the US, it's a lot different than Canada. Sometimes I'd be involved 20 days a month to go see the government, and I couldn't keep a job. They set me up for failure, and it constantly kept me trapped in this cycle.
You had said that you tricked your wife into believing that you're a changed man, you're a good man, but that was not the case. And in fact, there was a time when you put your family in real danger.
I found a church in Lloydminster, and it kind of, got me on a good path, and I was doing great for about 4 months. And at that time, everything was going good. I was working in a tattoo shop, making good money. So I convinced my wife that, hey, I'm really over it this time. It's been more than 2 weeks, it's 4 months. I kind of knew that, how committed she was and what an amazing human being and woman and mother she is, that I kind of manipulated her throughout our whole relationship, and was able to get her back. And at that point, after a month having him back, I spiraled out of control again, and I got really bad. I got into heavy selling again, and selling heavy amounts of narcotics throughout the streets of Red Deer. And at that point, it got to the point where people were talking about robbing me every day. I would hear stories, oh, someone's coming to rob you, someone's coming to rob you. And I was so high on crack, I would just put on my bulletproof vest and sit around with whatever gun I had and just wait for them to come. I had cameras everywhere, up and down the alleys, down the streets, and I could see everything. And ultimately, they left again, and I ended up getting caught and raided, and then they left, actually. But yeah, I got caught with 9 guns and guns with serial numbers scratched off. I was so lost that I was contemplating murder.
As you're sitting there in your living room, per se, with your bulletproof vest and your gun, your family's in the house at the time?
Yeah, and I'm smoking crack in the bathroom, coming back out, just my sons are sitting there watching TV, my wife's upstairs with my daughter, and yeah, I had no regard. Met my wife right after my best friend had been murdered. I moved back home, and she said from the minute she saw me, she knew she was gonna marry me, which was pretty crazy, but so we hit it off, and I started hanging out with her and tried to get away from it all. It was difficult for me to stay away from the drugs, but she never got involved in it. When things go bad, you automatically feel like you're pressured and there's no way out. And the only way out is to sell more drugs or to rob somebody, or the drugs had just blinded me so bad that you don't even think of it anymore. You just become so accustomed to that lifestyle after so many years that you disregard everybody's safety, including your own. Nothing seems fearful anymore. It just seems like another day at the office.
reconciliation to redemption. Imagine having your life flash before your eyes in a bathroom, and then the God you've been running from speaks. What happens when you obey?
So when I came to Calgary, I was very committed. I was like, hey, this is, I'm getting old. I'm 44. What am I going to do? I'm almost 45. And it just seemed like an endless cycle, right? So I was doing well. I had found a job at a tattoo shop in town, and I was doing very well. So we were living in and out of an Airbnb, just trying to get situated. And I was waiting on a paycheck, and it was they held your check for 2 weeks. But I was waiting on a good amount of money. But we were in an Airbnb, and I had to pay the next day. So I was contemplating. I went into the bathroom and got into my old mentality, and I was thinking, hey, so who am I gonna rob? I have to rob somebody just to stay afloat for a few more days. And I broke down crying. And I was just like, why is this happening? I'm doing the right thing. I have money sitting there, but I have no other way. So I remember just crying out to the Lord. And I was like, man, Jesus, if you are for real, just give me a break for once, and he's giving me a million breaks, but I broke down and I cried and I passed out. I woke up in the morning, my life had seemed like it flashed before my eyes. Everything seemed different. And I just had this feeling I had to call my sister and ask for help. I hadn't talked to her or any of my family in about 12 to 13 years. And she helped me. And I just felt the Lord talking to me. And she mentioned something. She wanted me to talk to my mother. I didn't want to do it. I was like, I'm not ready for that. This is the first day, give me a minute, but I called my mother. And I feel like the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders. I've never had another criminal thought in my life. Everything was erased. For some reason, it's just another one of those commandments, honor thy mother and father. Maybe, just as soon as that weight was lifted off, I could feel the presence of God come over me, and knowing that maybe that was one of the biggest strongholds that the devil had over my life. And the Lord broke that. A year later, she passed away. And that reconciliation, I think maybe, if it wasn't made, maybe I never would have been this free in the Lord that I am today. I would still have this baggage that I'd be clinging on to.
So through that experience then, like kind of reconnecting with your family, especially your mom, there's a date on the calendar, and it's an important date to you.
Yeah.
It's a date you'll never forget, April the 20th. Why is that date important?
The night before, on April 19th, I started looking up Filipino churches in Calgary, because the church that I found in Lloydminster was a Filipino-based church, and I had never felt the authenticity and genuine touch of God until I was in that church. So I was like, you know what, I got to get around a community like that. The next day I went to work, and this guy, Jesse Sayer, came in to get a tattoo touched up, and somehow we started talking about God, and he invited me to church. And at that point, I knew that the Lord was definitely speaking to me. And I remember saying to God, I was like, if you just help me out of this, I promise you, and I will surrender my life to you. And between talking to my sisters, getting the help, my mother, and then the church thing the next day, I was like, okay, man, this guy is for real. And man, the minute I went in that church, I just felt the Holy Spirit just run through me. I remember during worship, I just broke down crying. And then when I left that day, a huge miracle happened as well. And I couldn't look back after that.
That would have been the moment that you would become born again.
Yeah, I would say so.
So I'm interested. Describe that moment for me. How do you know?
I just started praying and just asking for forgiveness and just repenting, and I just started crying, and I couldn't stop for about the whole entire service, and then everything Pastor Jonathan said just spoke directly to me, and I just felt washed right then. I knew that my life was changed forever.
We all know following Jesus isn't easy. We all struggle. And so can I ask, through all that you have gone through, do you still struggle today? And what would be your greatest struggle?
I run a Bible study and a street ministry group now, and it's The one thing I like to share with a lot of the guys in there is, you know what? I haven't had a bad day in 3.5 years. I have lots of bad moments. But when you truly surrender to the Lord and you're willing to put everything before Him, as soon as something bad happens, I feel convicted if it's my fault, or if it's just something bad, I turn to the Lord and I pray 20 times a day. I talk to God all day long. And when you do that, it's impossible to have a bad day, because you feel the love of the Lord in your life, His presence. And like I said, I don't have bad days. I have bad moments.
What about forgiveness?
Yeah, that's probably the thing I struggled with the most, is living in shame and forgiving myself, because I know I've hurt so many people along the way. But through the grace and love of our loving Father Jesus, I've had reconciled relationships. Love has endured in my family. We're the best we've ever been, 30 years together with my wife now. And I've put these last 4 tattoos on my face as a constant reminder that I don't have to live in that shame anymore. He paid the price. And I have to remember that if I continue to live in that shame, then what He did was for nothing. The debt is paid. He conquered death, and He did that for me, for you, and for everyone.
Like my guest, you have a choice to make. Jesus made it clear. You must be born again. How? It's very simple. If you open your heart and believe that Jesus Christ is Lord and that God raised Him from the dead, you will be saved. So I invite you to open your heart and believe. Jesus can and will change everything. If you would like to talk to someone about your decision and have them pray with you, then please call our 24/7 prayer line at 1-866-273-4444.
Hebrews 11:4. It was by faith that Abel brought a more acceptable offering to God than Cain did. Abel's offering gave evidence that he was a righteous man, and God showed His approval of his gifts. Although Abel is long dead, he still speaks to us by his example of faith. So even though he is gone, his legacy is what still speaks on. And it made me just think of my children and legacy. I actually got it tattooed on the back of my head, and I changed for that. I started living for my children more and making sure that after I'm gone, they would be happy to say I was their father everywhere they went. So that's why it's important to me.